Hi everyone, I'm Jo Barclay Loggie and today's demo is another quick one. I'm going to show you how to make a pair of statement beaded earrings. This is them here in my all-time favorite summer color combination with the turquoise, the red and the silver. I'll hold it up to my ear so you can see that they're actually not that massive, but they will be noticeable. It's also something that you can create a pendant from, so that would be beautiful as a pendant. So you could have matching earrings and the pendant. It's using circular brick stitch. Now I have done a demo for you on another pair of earrings, these ones, using circular brick stitch. But to start it, we beaded around a solid frame in the center, that silver ring. So today's circular brick stitch demo shows you how to start doing the brick stitch around a bead or a gemstone. So I've got a gemstone in the middle there rather than a ring. So let's get going. First things first, let's have a look at what we need to make either the earrings or a pendant or both. And I'm going to start with 3 colors of size 8 seed beads. When you're doing your brick stitch, you can use 11s or 15s, that's no problem. The size of the rings around your circle, you'll be using more beads because the beads are smaller, and the diameter of your circle or your beaded circle may shrink a little. I'm using the 8s because it's easier for you to see in the demo. So I've got Duracoat silver, Duracoat galvanized silver. This lovely red is known as a silver lined Duracoat salmon. And the turquoise is the opaque turquoise green. So that's my 3 size 8s. I've also got a size 6 seed bead here. They're the ones that are around the edge of my earring. And they're also in the opaque turquoise green. And then I've got a lovely shiny Superduo here. This is the full Labrador, so it gives a lovely sheen. I've got my 8mm gemstones, so that's right in the center and what we're going to start our brick stitch around. I have got a shepherd's hook. I'm using 6-pound Fireline today in the black satin, and hopefully you'll be able to see the thread path. I've got my thread zapper to end off my threads and a size 10 beading needle. Just brought the other earrings into shot now. It was really easy starting brick stitch on these, and I will put a link to this demo in the comments below. But we had this solid silver ring that we could thread around and add our beads for our brick stitch. Here we've got a bead, a gemstone, 8mm in size, just with its 2 regular holes. So we need to come up with a plan as to how we can start this first round of brick stitch. So onto your needle, if you thread 1 meter of your Fireline, no stopper bead required, and we're just going to pass the needle through the bead, put it all the way through. You want to leave yourself about a 10 centimeter tail. You're going to have to weave this in at the end just to secure it. So if you leave yourselves about 10 centimeters, you've got enough to thread on a needle and weave away. So my thread is passing through the center of that bead, and I'm going to make a ring with the thread around my 8mm bead. So I'm going to pass the needle back through my 8mm. And you'll be able to see the thread on one side there. So I now need a line of thread on the opposite side of my 8mm bead. So I'm going to bring the needle back through my bead. So they will move around, but I've got a bit of thread that side and a bit of thread that side. That is going to form my invisible ring around my gemstone, and I'm going to use that thread as I used the solid silver ring in the previous demo. All through this you need to be holding onto that tail. Just keep it secure so that this ring of thread around the bead stays fairly tight. So as you can see, the first ring around our 8mm bead is in the salmon. So just as with the other brick stitch, I'm going to start by picking up 2 of my salmon, and I'm going to pass the needle under the thread. And I'm going to come back up through the second bead. And when I pull it through tight, they're going to sit, these salmon are going to sit all the way around on this black thread on my bead here. So my thread is exiting the second size 8. I'm now going to pick up 1 at a time. So 1, pass under the thread, and it does move for now, but you can always manipulate it back into place. So pass under the thread, pull your needle through, and then you're going to pass the needle back up through that bead you've just added from the bottom to the top. And when you pull it tight, it pulls it into line with the previous one that you added on. And you can see how they sit side on to your gemstone. So we do that again. We pick up 1 of our salmon, pass under the thread that formed the ring around our gemstone, and pass the needle back up through that last seed bead from the base to the top. And when you pull your thread tight, it starts to pull it into a ring around your gemstone and around the bead. Now you're going to continue doing that, just catching the thread all the way around. When you get to the hole at the base of your gemstone, you're just going to skip across to the thread that's on the other side there. So I'll come back to you when I've nearly completed the round. So you can see I've come all the way around. I've still got a fairly sizable gap there. Now the trick with brick stitches or circular brick stitch, there are no rules as to how many beads you fit around. It's all going to depend on your tension, but you don't want big gaps around in your circles, in your rings. So I've got plenty of space there to add in a final bead. So I'm coming under the thread, and I'm going to pass my needle back up through the bead. What you don't want to do is try and cram them in, and then you don't get a perfect circle sitting straight. So I've come up through the last bead I've added, and I need to connect it to the very first bead that I added in this round. So I'm coming down, passing the needle down through that first bead and back up through the last one. And that'll just secure it and complete my first round. So I've got a perfect little ring of the salmon beads around my turquoise gemstone, and I'm ready to start the second round, which in this design is the silver. So as I did with round 1, and I picked up 2 to begin with, I'm picking up 2 to start round 2. And I'm going to pass my needle under the thread bridge that is formed between the bead where my thread is exiting and the next bead along. You can see that little thread bridge there. So I pass my needle under the thread bridge. Again, you want to keep that tail out the way. And I'm going to pass my needle back through, up through the second silver bead from the bottom to the top. And when I pull my thread through, it pulls it up snugly against the salmon ring or the red ring of beads. So now I'm picking up 1 at a time again. So pick up 1, and I'm going to pass under the thread bridge between 2 of the red beads and back up through the silver bead that I've just added. Now your rings, as your design grows, the rings are getting larger and larger, so you're going to be adding more and more beads. So you won't always just be passing under the next thread bridge. I am with this one. I'm going under the next thread bridge, back up through the bead, but I've probably got some space now to use that same thread bridge to add in an extra bead because the silver ring is getting bigger. So I'm going back under that same thread bridge, and as soon as you pass the needle back up through the bead you've just added from the base to the top, it pulls it into line with the rest of the beads in that ring. So I'm going to continue now all the way around, and when I get near to the end of this round I've now completed brick stitch with the silver beads all the way around to almost the beginning, and you can see there's still a little gap there, but that gap I know is too little to try and cram another size 8 in. The problem is if you try to cram too many in, you don't get a ring. You get a ring that's got little bits that point up like that because you've tried to push too many of them into the circle. So all I'm going to do now is join that last one to the very first bead that I did in this round in exactly the same way. So down through the first bead and back up through the last bead. And then you're ready. When you pull it into place, you can see that gap closes, that little gap that was there closes, and you're ready to start round 3, which is a turquoise round. And I'm going to start round 3 as I started the others by picking up 2 beads and pass under the thread bridge. If I pull it a bit looser, you should be able to see it there. Under that thread bridge between the first and the second bead. I'm just going to pull it in a bit. And then pass my needle back up through the second bead to get this round started. Now you can see how it's pulled it really loose there, and it's really a good idea to get your tension right when you come up through that second bead. By pulling in quite tight, you pull it into the ring or the round before, and it just gets pulled into place. So your tension does need to be quite tight. I'm picking up 1 now, and I'm passing my needle under the next thread bridge. And I'm going to pass back up through that bead from the bottom to the top, and I'm going to pull the tension quite tight, and then you get them sitting neatly as you want them to. Right, so just as the previous rounds, I'm going to continue with the turquoise all the way around to the beginning. I've almost completed the round, and I haven't done it on purpose because I want to show you how big that gap is there. Sometimes people don't know when to add a bead or when to leave it. That is a gap of nearly 2 8s from the previous round, the silver 8s I can see there. So there's definitely space for me to add in 1 more turquoise, come under the thread bridge, pass back up through the bead, and although there is still a little gap there, it's not big enough to fit in another one. It's just the right size to finish off by joining that last turquoise bead to the very first one that you added in the round. So I've just joined that up as I did the others. So if I pop that down on the bead mat, you can see I've got perfect circles around my gemstone now. So that is actually the end of the circular brick stitch. We've still got this outer edge to do, and this is where we're going to be embellishing the brick stitch with salmon, the Superduos, and the size 6 seed beads. So in this next round, we're going to be adding the red and the silver Superduos at the same time. So we're going to pick up 1 salmon. Before you pick up your Superduos, do yourself a favor and just poke your needle through each of the 2 holes on every Superduo. The reason I say this is sometimes the coating that they use on beads can block up one of the holes, and we will be using both. So there's nothing more frustrating than adding a row and then you come to bead up the empty holes and you find that a couple of them are clogged up and you can't use them, and then you've got to go in reverse and undo all your hard work. So check all the holes before you start picking up beads. So we're picking up 1 red, 1 Superduo and 1 red. My thread is exiting the top of a turquoise, and I'm going to pass the needle back down through the very next turquoise bead. I'm going to pass my needle up through the turquoise to the left, just through the turquoise bead, and I'm then going to pass up through the red bead that's on the right hand side. And pull your thread tight and you'll get things sitting as you need them to. Now, in that first pickup, it was red, Superduo, red. I've already got a red there, so I'm going to pick up a Superduo and a red, and I'm going to pass the needle down through the very next turquoise bead. Come up through the turquoise bead to the left of that, and then pass the needle up through the red bead on the right. And pull your threads in tight. So I've got 2 of my Superduos added. So I'm exiting a red, I'm going to be picking up a Superduo and another red down through the very next turquoise. Pass the needle back up through the turquoise on the left, and you want to pass just through the turquoise bead, because then after that, just get my tail out the way, you're going to pass back up through the red on the end, from the base to the top, and pull your thread in tight. Now I'm going to continue with that the whole way around my circle, so I'll just be picking up a Superduo and a red each time, and when I get back round to the beginning, I've just added in my last Superduo and a red, and I've come back up through the turquoise and up through the red, and you can see I've now got 2 reds together. All I need to do is pick up my very last Superduo, pass down through the red and the blue, make sure that hasn't caught around there, no it hasn't, up through the blue, the turquoise alongside it on the left, and up through the red. Now all along while we've been doing this brick stitch, the circular brick stitch, and even this first bit of embellishing, we've kept our tension quite tight. We've only got the last round to do now, these size 6s, and here you need to loosen your tension just slightly, because if you pull too tight, you're going to distort it completely. So my thread is exiting from a red, and I'm just going to pass through that hole at the base of the Superduo next to it, and then change direction and pass through the upper hole of that Superduo. Very easy last round. It's just a question of picking up 1 size 6 seed bead and moving on to the empty hole of the next Superduo. So you're just connecting all those empty holes now that are sitting on the edge there with your size 6 seed beads. So this is a super quick, super easy round, and you're going to do it the whole way around, and then I'll show you how to add on your shepherd's. Got back to the beginning, adding in my size 6 seed beads, and my thread, I just passed through the top of the last Superduo and through the size 6 seed bead as well. So I'm ready to now add on my shepherd's hook, and again, no rules with this. This is just the way that I have done it for this design. So I'm going to pick up 3 of my Duracoat galvanized silver size 8 seed beads. I'm going to pass through the loop of my shepherd's hook and back down through that last silver bead that I picked up. I now need 2 more to pick up to balance both sides, and I'm going to pass through the size 6 seed bead from the opposite side, I'm going to go through the Superduo as well. And when I pull it tight, you'll see that I've got quite a neat attachment there for my earring, if I turn it the right way around for you there. So it's just a very simple, the earring or the detail that is in the circular brick stitch design and the embellishment is so much that you just need something very simple to add on your shepherd's hook. And I'm going to pass through the next couple of beads as well before I finish off with a double half hitch knot. So I've gone under the thread bridge between the Superduo and the size 6 seed bead. I form a loop and I pass my needle through the loop. That's a half hitch, and I need to do it a second time to make it a double. So under the thread bridge, form a loop, pass the needle through the loop and pull tight. And then you can just thread that knot into the beads alongside. And you can do it again, just to be safe, to know that your knot is going to hold. And then you can zap off or stitch off that thread, snip off that thread I should say. So snip it off. And then you can thread your needle onto your tail thread, and you're just going to thread it in and out of these brick stitch beads. Let me grab my needle and show you. So I would come up a red and a silver, go down a silver and a red, and just lose it in a little maze in amongst there, those beads, and then you have your set of earrings all done. And as I said earlier, you could make a third one as a pendant, a matching pendant. So circular brick stitch for the first 3 rounds, and then we embellished the outside. I really hope that you've enjoyed the summary tutorial in my favorite colors, and if you have, give us a thumbs up. Remember, you can always hit the subscribe button. It's free to subscribe. It just means that the next time I upload new content, you'll get a little notification to say there's a new demo for you to watch. Thank you so much for watching me today, and if you have any questions, pop them in the comments below and I'll answer them as quickly as possible. Bye.